I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that people happen to become the way they are by certain thing, like certain random things, right? There is a reason why every person is the way they is, and that reason has to be the same for most people, because then things just wouldn't make sense. I'm not saying things are supposed to make sense, but there has to be a reason why people are the way they are. And last year, I spent most of last year searching for the answer, searching for how people become the way they are and what is responsible for their character, and specifically their character. And what I've found, and what I know to be the answer now, is that as a man thinketh, so he is. So your thoughts determine the type of person you are. And all of this is coming from a book. It's called As a Man Thinketh. And surprisingly, I haven't always had this book, but this book has always been in my house because my father bought it. And it's like all this time I was searching for an answer that was right in my house. What I'm reading is coming from the book directly. I'm just going to read you a few quotes. So the first one is, a man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. Your character is a complete sum of all your thoughts. And you may be thinking, no, my character doesn't match with my thoughts. But let me ask you something. Think about situations where majority of your thoughts have been of an anxious nature. Did you behave confidently? Were you strutting around, walking like you're the boss? No. You were anxious. Your body language probably showed that you were anxious. So from that little connection of your thoughts determining how you behaved, you can see that as a man thinketh, so he is. Your thoughts literally determine your character, because your thoughts will determine how you behave, and how you behave simply constitutes your character. And now I'm going to read a longer section of this, and I just want you to listen. The aphorism, as a man thinketh in his heart, so he is, not only embraces the whole of a man's being, but is so comprehensive as to reach out to every condition and circumstance of his life. A man is literally what he thinks, his character being the complete sum of all his thoughts. As the plant springs from and could not be without the seed, so every act of a man springs from the hidden seeds of thought, and could not have appeared without them. This applies equally to those acts of spontaneous and unpremeditated, as to those which are deliberately executed. Act is a blossom of thought, and joy and suffering are as fruits. Thus does a man garner in the sweet and bitter fruitage of his own husbandry. So essentially what this passage is saying is that the seed of what a man becomes, that seed is your thoughts. Your thoughts TJ! Your thoughts determine the type of man you will become. Because as it says, act blossoms from thoughts. So your thoughts will determine the type of acts you will take. And we know that from the example I've given of when majority of your thoughts were anxious, you acted in an anxious manner. So at the root of everything, at the root of your character, is thought. And now I'm going to read you another few sentences from the book. Man is made or unmade by himself. In the armory of thought, he forges the weapons by which he destroys himself. He also fashions the tools with which he builds for himself heavenly mansions of joy and strength and peace. So essentially, you are made and unmade by yourself. You decide who you become, and you decide that through your thoughts. And people may be like, you can't control what you think. But what I've learned is you can't control a single thought that you think, but you can control the nature of your thoughts. But this requires persistence. This requires manual inputs of good content. So the title of this video insinuates that you want to change your character. What I've noticed is that with normal people, right, the idea of changing your character has negative connotations. People are like, you shouldn't change your character, you shouldn't change who you are. But to be quite frank with you, I've only heard normal people saying that. Successful people always talk about how they had to do things differently, how they had to change. Because to be successful, you need to change. The world is changing. Therefore, what the world demands of you will change. So therefore, you will have to change. You will have to reinvent yourself. You won't be able to do the same thing for 80 years and expect success for all 80 years, especially due to the nature of this earth, due to the technology we have now. The world is changing at an extremely fast pace. If you stay the same, you will be left behind. So you need to change. That's just talking about like your career and the things you do. As a person, you need to change. You need to develop your character. You need to pluck out certain things. You need to input certain things. And people say, you shouldn't change. People be like, why did you change? You've changed. And they'll say it like it's a bad thing. Change isn't a bad thing. Change is a necessary part of life. In order to succeed, you will need to change. There's no doubt about it. You will need to change because right now you probably haven't succeeded. So it means that you need to change. Why would you stay the same if you haven't succeeded? And now you may be asking, how do I change? From what I've told you, we know that change, the root of change, is thought. As a man thinketh, so he is. So if you change your thoughts, you change your character, you change who you are. Sometimes you just don't know the right thoughts. And let's say you want a certain characteristics, you want to become a certain type of person, and you don't know the right thoughts. The way to find the right thoughts is to find someone who is similar to what you want to become and analyze their speech, because at the root of speech is thought. So by analyzing their speech, you will discover the thoughts that they think. And now you will be able to manually adopt those thoughts. And the key is manually, because you have programmed yourself in a specific way where you think the thoughts that you're thinking now. So to adopt these other thoughts, you're going to have to input them manually. And you're going to have to do it with persistence. And over time, those manually inputted thoughts will become your thoughts. They'll become the thoughts that you just automatically think. Another way which you can change your thoughts is adopting them by association. So literally spend more time with people who are like what you want to become. See, I recently stopped spending a lot of time with like some people, and I'm spending more time with like my closest friend group. And in this friend group, they're so focused on their fashion. Like, it's unbelievable. Fashion is extremely important. I cared about my fashion. I cared about how I dressed before, but it wasn't really a major thing to me. It was just like, as long as I'm looking presentable, oh God. But they put so much emphasis that you should always be showing up. You should be always dressing as good as you possibly can. And I didn't even do this purposefully. With my fashion, well, actually I did, but it's because of the thoughts that I was adopting by association with these guys. My fashion sense, or my wardrobe has improved extensively over like the past 2 months. And you know what the thing is? I've barely spent anything. It's as if the clothes have just been coming my way. And I'm not saying that this will happen for all of you, but I started thinking more about fashion, thinking more about improving my own fashion sense. And it just happened. Because as a man thinketh, so he is. And I genuinely find that weird, that I was just thinking about it and clothes would just be coming my way. Like my dad would randomly offer me something that I was thinking about. Like, I haven't had a pair of cargo pants, right? Like, I've always wanted cargo pants. But then I haven't had. But then I was just thinking, it would be nice to have cargo pants. Literally like a week later, my dad's like, these cargo pants, you can have them. Like, they don't fit. And another way you can alter your thoughts is through what you consume. Because what you consume determines the type of thoughts you're thinking. Because if you're consuming what you're consuming, you're thinking about what you're consuming. So if you're consuming something about positive nature, or something with a positive nature, you'll start thinking about things of positive nature. And to conclude, at the root of who you are, at the root of your character is your thoughts. And since we can control our thoughts, we can control our character, we can control who we are. And that's amazing because it gives you all the power. Like, imagine you have the power right now to change who you are. If you wanted to become, I don't know what you wanted to become, but if you wanted to become that, you would be able to change yourself into that simply by changing your thoughts to those which align to becoming that. Right now, if there's a thing about yourself that you don't like or even don't understand, the cause of it lies in your thoughts. And if you seek those thoughts, if you seek the cause, you will surely find. And since you have control over your thoughts, you'll be able to change that which you do not like and alchemize it into that which you do like. What's more amazing than that?